sir. I have to see your ID, I'm afraid, sir.
Oh. Oh, yes. Yes, of course.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Glad to see you're on your toes.
This is Detective Superintendent Grace from SO13. He's going to be in charge of the inquiry. And his firm are going to be based here, which means we'll be giving them all the support they need. Now, be aware, we've had a shooting on the ground. And we've also got terrorist suspects in custody. So we're not talking about fish and chip crime. The order of the day is ears open, mouths shut.
We've designated the female cells as a high security area. Armed officers are on watch here and at access points to the station.
All right, good. Custody records?
Sir?
Lots of action last night.
Both prisoners have complained about the circumstances of their arrest and they've repeatedly asked for access to a solicitor and for people outside to be told they're in custody.
They've been informed of the reasons for refusal, have they?
Sir, they understand it's on your instructions.
Good.
Yesterday evening, 2 of our officers were up behind a car thief called Phil Stark. He tried the handle of a parked Jag in Leamington Grove. Didn't realise that there was a man, Joseph Pearce, in the vehicle. Now, Pearce shot Stark and drove off. Stark only received superficial wounds and is recovering in hospital. Isn't that right, Viv?
Yes, Gov.
Later, Pearce crashed at a roadblock and was killed. Now, prior to the shooting, Jim Carver saw Pearce leaving a flat in Leamington Grove carrying a holdall, which he put into the boot of the Jag. When the vehicle was intercepted, this same holdall was discovered. Inside were 2 Kalashnikov AK-47 automatic rifles. In the meantime, the flat was searched. The occupants were Paul Harris and Marie Sinnott, an Irish couple in their early 20s. They're now being held here under the Prevention of Terrorism Act. Ted.
What came out of the flat search?
Names and addresses we'd like followed up, and various items which are being tested for forensic purposes. We have reason to believe that Sinnott and Harris were the support cell for a provisional IRA active service unit, responsible for 3 recent shooting incidents on the mainland. My colleagues from SO13 and I will be interviewing the prisoners and building up a profile of the dead gunman. We want Sunhill CID to knock on some doors and dig out what you can on Sinnott and Harris.
You'll be coordinating that, Ted. Oh, and before anyone starts belly aching, all right, we've got the routine gutty job. But if we do that right, it can make a result stick.
I know it's a burden. All we can do is play it according to the rules, and God willing, we'll be fireproof.
Yes, sir. That's Harris they're bringing back. They'll be wanting the woman again now. Excuse me, sir.
All right.
Dr. Edding?
Are you one of the business study students?
No. This is about a Marie Sinnott, who is or was a student here at the Polytechnic.
Oh, God, now what's happened to her?
Oh, she's fitting well, don't worry. But you do remember her?
Yes. What is all this about?
Oh, just routine inquiries, Miss Edding. We're just checking on Marie's recent activities.
Yes, well, we don't normally give confidential information about our students.
This is a police matter.
Yes. Well, it's no secret. Marie only lasted 1 term with us. She was doing the social administration course. There were disciplinary problems in the hall of residence where she was living, and she was asked to move out.
Disciplinary problems?
God knows we're not prudes, and the last thing we want to do is impose standards of personal morality. But there aren't the facilities for 2 in a study bedroom. Late-night noise, arguments, other difficulties.
Difficulties?
Other women students objected to having a man on the premises, and there was some suggestion of drug abuse in the student Christian movement.
Harris? Yeah, I remember him all right.
He worked for you?
Not a stroke. First day didn't turn up at all, second day was late, incapable. Didn't smell a drink or anything. Maybe it was dope. There wasn't a third day.
It's about one of your staff. Marie Sinnott.
Marie was never staff. Casual is what Marie was, in the extreme.
You say was?
You get all sorts in the catering trade, but when her slob of a boyfriend lurched in and they got through 2 bottles of my Chardonnay, breakages, she said. That was the finish.
So how's the interviewing going then, Tommy?
Early days yet, Frank. Early days.
Not coming across?
One expected at this stage, but without actually saying anything, they're telling us a lot about themselves.
Oh, yeah. If you want me to step in and bowl them a few bouncers, I'll be more than willing.
Much appreciated, Frank. But we're used to working as a team. More comfortable that way.
So how about the other players? The ones you got under wraps at Paddington Green. I suppose they're still toughing it out.
Sure. That's why we want to break your prisoners. They feel like the weak link.
Pity of it is, the man with all the answers got wiped out last night.
Pierce?
I bet you're choked you can't get on his case, eh, Tommy?
Oh, we're on his case, all right.
Yeah? Well, you can tell me. Won't go any further. Right, up.
You on again? Have we been here round the clock?
You've been here for just over 17 hours.
Do you know this is torture?
You complaining about the conduct of the interviews?
Interviews? They've been trying to put words into my mouth, talking about people I've never even heard of.
We are entitled to put these matters to
Being
you.
locked up here is psychological torture.
According to the records, you've had breaks for rest, you've been offered refreshment.
I suppose you find ways of living with yourselves.
Interview room 2.
All right. You got some useful background from Ted's people. Feed it in gradually. Let Sinnott understand we know a lot about her. Let her think we know a whole lot more.
Right, sir.
You coming in on this one, Gov?
When you've done the warm-up, I'll take a spell. We're his subject, fresh interviewer. All helps do the business for us.
What we picked up on Sinnott and Harris this morning.
All grist to the mill, Ted. Played the right way.
What sort of picture does it give you on this couple?
Not exactly Chaz and Di, are they?
They're irresponsible, loud, piss artists, maybe druggies.
That's the way it looks. Got a point, mate.
Well, yes. I mean, if I wanted a couple to live here undercover and provide support for terrorist operations, I'd want people who kept their head down and melted into the landscape, not walking disaster areas like Harris and Sinnott.
Horses for courses, Ted. You bring in the matchsticks. We'll make the model of Westminster Abbey. All right.
Yes, sir. Understood.
We've done it all by the book.
Is that supposed to mean somebody else hasn't?
Not to my knowledge, Governor.
Meaning what?
I don't know how the interviews have been conducted, do I? A lot of what's going on here would be right out of order under normal circumstances.
They're not suspected of anything normal. The rules are different in terrorist cases.
Yes, sir. But as I say, we're covered.
You weren't in this station when a car bomb took it apart and killed one of our constables. You can't fight a war by the everyday rules.
No.
See, Tommy Grace is a good bloke. He and his boys have got much more grasp of the general picture than we have.
Well, I hope so. Because what he's got on Sinnott and Harris is so thin, it's invisible.
Look, this is not our inquiry. We're just doing some of the legwork.
Yeah, but if this thing gets blown out in court, or worse still, years later on appeal, Sunhill CID's prints will be on it.
I'm not supposed to tell you this, but I got more bodies at Paddington Green. The ones who actually carried out the attacks.
What ties him in with Harris and Sinnott?
Nothing yet. But Pierce came out of that flat carrying a pistol and a bag full of automatic rifles. I mean, what's it about if not terrorism?
What have they got in Pierce?
That's something else I'm not supposed to talk about. Pierce is confidential. They won't even publicly release his identity. But seeing as it's you, Ted. Joseph Pierce, born 44 years ago in Ireland. Served in the British Army between 1967 and 1974, right at the time the Troubles blew up.
You don't have to tell me. I was in the Air Force at the time.
Well, he wouldn't be the only Irish soldier in the British Army who started to have doubts about his loyalties at the time of Bloody Sunday. That's the way SO13 are thinking.
Did Pierce live on our ground?
Yeah?
Well, I might know people who knew him. Maybe I should.
I didn't hear that. Ted, if the solids hit the fan on this one, I didn't know. All right?
Well, probably save us a lot of grief in the long run.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm not actually stopping you, am I?
Helps upon the families of Irish political prisoners.
There you go, mate.
Cheers.
Always know what the punter wants, eh, Tim?
That's the way to stay in business, Mr. Roach.
I see you're still doing your bit for the community.
Well, the lads, when they first come over, they need a helping hand to get settled. You'll be aware of that yourself. It's easy for a boy to go wrong.
Oh, sure. And a friendly landlord offers advice, drinks, meals, bed and breakfast even, on a long slate. It's easy for a boy to end up owing you more than his wages every week.
This is a respectable house, Mr. Roach. We don't make problems for the police, and we've done them more than the odd favor.
Yeah, we don't make a fuss about the license application. So let's go on keeping each other happy, okay?
I take it this is business?
Oh, just asking after an old friend. I thought with your contacts in the community, you could help. A man by the name of Joe Pierce. Around my age. Did a stint in the army.
You're wasting your time here. I know the man, but I've not encouraged his custom.
Oh, I thought you tried to keep well in with all sorts, Tim. A man wouldn't be put on the block here just because he's rumored to be one of the boys, would he?
I think you're out of your depth, Sergeant.
Don't you dare talk to me like that, Cullen. I could have this place turned over faster than a car ferry. Now, what do you know about Pierce?
I'm trying to do you a favor. Joe Pierce isn't bad news because anyone thinks he's a volunteer. He's bad news because they think he's a tout.
An informer? Whose?
Well, he's suddenly started spending a lot of time in the company of his old army pals. Those still serving, I mean. And he's tried to do it on the quiet. Now, will you do us both a favor? Drink up and push off.
Hopeful of being able to charge them shortly?
Oh, yes. Very hopeful.
Oh. Well, that's good news all round. Help resolve a difficult situation for us at the station here.
Yes, of course. We are aware of the problems.
Getting all the cooperation you need?
In most quarters, sir, we have nothing to complain about.
Most quarters?
At yesterday morning's briefing, it was clearly agreed that Sunhill CID would participate in this inquiry under my department's direction.
Yes.
My sources tell me your Mr. Roach has been playing the wild rover.
Message you wanted to talk to me.
Yeah.
Well, it won't be a very long conversation unless there's a bit more civility than there was the last time.
Well, I may have been a little hasty. The thing is, after you left, 3 men were in asking for Joe Pierce.
Who were they?
They were strangers to me, but I know British soldiers when I see them. Now tell me straight, Mr. Roach. Is Army intelligence tied up in this business? I don't want my premises turning into a target.
These men who were asking for Pierce, they didn't know him?
No.
Did they give names?
No. Now, come on. Is the military nosing around? Because I don't want to...
How did they expect Pierce to get in contact with them?
They said they'd be in again.
Okay. You say that you've seen Pierce, but he wants to know more before he meets
I'm not getting involved in this.
It seems to me that you're involved, whether you like it or not. But the fact is, I don't know who these guys are. So if you're worried, you better help me find out.
To the best of my knowledge, Ted Roach was off duty last night, sir. I mean, I can't control his social life. He wouldn't wear it.
Look, I'm merely passing on SO13's information, Frank. Now, what you choose to do with it as acting DCI is entirely up to you. By the way, how are you settling into the job?
Oh, well, it's been a challenge, naturally, sir. But I think I'm on top of it.
Good. Good.
Of course, what you can achieve as acting DCI is a bit limited. You need the substantive rank to really show some form.
Yes, well, these matters are decided above our heads.
So?
For what it's worth, I've always held that senior rank requires the exercise of tactful but effective supervision. Still, I'm sure you're well aware of that.
That's a personal priority, sir.
Of course, support for subordinates is essential. But I'd hate to see an able man held back through misplaced loyalty. Believe me, Frank, you can't save a man who's determined to drive his own career into the ground.
I'll bear that in mind, sir.
Well, you can square it, man, can't you? I've got to get home.
Mind about getting home. Harrison Sinnott came up for review at 36 hours and nothing happened. That was 2 hours ago.
Nobody noticed or what?
Yeah, well, they were being interviewed at the time, and Mr. Gray said it can be interrupted. He'd give reasons for continued detention at the first opportunity.
Yeah, then what?
Well, they're still interviewing Harris. There hasn't been an opportunity.
And your governor stood for that?
And whose side is he supposed to be on?
Yeah, and who's going to be on our side if this all goes pear-shaped?
Good lad. You did the right thing.
What did they have to say this time?
I said Pierce wanted to know more. They said, tell him Des Sutherland sent us. We're looking for the same deal, cash.
Cash for what?
If I asked things like that, there'd be no business done on the premises. They were already getting hooky. They said they'd ring this afternoon, and if Pierce didn't close the deal tonight, they were on their toes.
Okay. You tell him Pierce will meet him tonight. But he's got to see the goods.
Are you going to be in touch with Pierce?
No. I'm going to beat Pierce.
Mr. Brown. Inspector. I realise we've caused you some procedural problems. Thank you for bearing with us.
As you realise, detention beyond 36 hours requires my approval.
Yes, of course. But I'm sure you're aware from your own experience there are times in an interview situation where a sudden interruption could be catastrophic.
May I ask if these extraordinary procedures are actually progressing the inquiry?
Yes, of course. We've cracked it with Harris.
You mean he's confessed?
Not confessed, but he's talking to us. He's naming names. He's implicated his girlfriend, Sinnott. On that basis, I'm asking for an extension of custody to the full 48 hours.
Yes, well, that seems to be justified. After that, it's off my plate and into the lap of the Home Office.
The word is Harris has started a cough. He's naming names.
Who wouldn't after 36 hours? Now, who's he naming? His girlfriend? His Auntie Mary? The milkman?
Look, Tommy Grace knows about terrorism. He knows how the provisionals operate.
That's what he and his firm are looking for. And when you know what you're looking for, all the evidence seems to fit in. We've all been there, haven't we, Frank?
So have you got a better story?
Think about this. There are soldiers on the ground looking for Pierce with something to sell. Now, we're all assuming that automatic weapons mean terrorists. But what if there's a trade in them for non-political criminals? We all know the kind of scumbags who go in for armed blagging these days. All doped up to the eyeballs. They can't see any further than driving fast cars, dying young and beautiful, shooting it out with the cops. You mention automatic weapons to those zombies, they go bandy.
So Pierce is a middleman, the armourer.
Why not?
It's all guesswork, Ted.
Up to now. But tonight, I'm hoping to buy a consignment of Kalashnikovs from those squaddies.
Are you? I'm warning you, Ted. If the wheels come off this one, and Brownlow does your legs once and for all, I'm going to have to help him. It's nothing personal.
So does that mean I'm not going to get any backup?
Look, Ted, I am acting DCI. I can't have my firm second-guessing SO13. Well, you know what I'm talking about. It's etiquette and politics.
And career developments.
Self-defense is no offence.
So I'm on my own.
All right, now look, don't get the Celtic hump. I said my firm. Now, if this thing really is all about pongos splogging off equipment, well, I might be able to row another firm in altogether.
Come in. Hurry up. You wouldn't consider using your own local the next time you want to meet somebody on the quiet?
No, I wouldn't.
I don't want any trouble now.
Good. Because if there is any, you'll be in it.
I suppose you want a drink?
You're a mind reader. Oh, Tim.
What?
Don't want you wearing yourself out up and down those stairs. Bring the bottle.
So Joe Pierce bought himself out of the army just as you lot were moving in to do him for flogging off gear.
Saved embarrassment all round, didn't it?
Sounds just like the police.
That one's been round before, Gov.
he's clocked us.
Doesn't look like it.
What do you think, Terry?
They're our property.
I'm Joe Pierce. Who am I talking to?
Bazza, Spike. They call me Geordie.
So, what have you got to say to me?
Rub him down.
Yes, Sarge.
Don't take it out on the lad, Sarge. It's no secret you're in the mob, is it?
Hands up against the bar.
You got cash?
You'll get the cash when I see the goods. I mean, fair play. I'm in no position to rip you off, am I? You lads want a drink?
They're too young.
A good sergeant, some mother and a father rolled into one, right?
That's what he tells us.
You see much action in the Gulf?
Of a kind.
Iraqis weren't shooting at us.
And the Yanks missed.
Brought back a lot of souvenirs?
There was too much lying around to carry. Still, if I'd known about the defence cuts, I'd have filled a crate.
Let's have a look at what you got then.
Same terms as Des Sutherland got for the 2 pieces last week.
Going right for a quick sale?
Let's go.
I need to have a proper look at the game, right?
But you can't do that here.
Attack, attack, attack!
Police, stand still! Hands up!
Kneel down! Lie down! Look at me! Get your hands behind your back! In! The one with his cigarette, he's ours.
All right, Tate. You all right?
Yeah, okay. Well, all yours now, right, Gov?
We'll arrange a collection.
Well, the guns came from squaddies who brought them back from the Gulf. Pierce was an armourer for blaggers. It's all accounted for.
You do realise neither of us two are going to get any brownie points out of all this. No greater offence than being right too soon.
I wasn't looking for brownie points.
Well, let's get back and talk to Tommy Grace before the Sunhill 2 coughed to being Jack the Ripper.
Well, at least it didn't take 15 years to sort this one out.